Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Twins Daily Postgame Pint. It is Wednesday, August 26th, 2020. My name is Nick Nelson of Twins Daily. Weird day, weird night, sad week for our country. 3 games across Major League Baseball postponed due to player protests. A lot of things going on in our city and around the country and around the region, but it's a little hard to focus on baseball and sports right now. NBA totally shut down tonight for similar reasons, but let's try to distract ourselves and talk a little bit about it. Wish we had a more of a positive game to talk about, but the Twins fall 6-3 against Cleveland, drop the series. Indians move within a half game of first place. Happy to have a couple Twins Daily writers with us tonight. Let's go ahead and introduce them. First, we got Mr. Jeremy Nygard coming out of Wisconsin. Jeremy, how you doing tonight? Are you having a beer, my man?
I am not drinking beer. I start school tomorrow morning, first day back with kids since March. So I am beer free tonight.
That sounds like the responsible decision, a good call. We've also got Mr. Andrew Thares with us here tonight. Andrew, how are you doing, sir?
Doing well, all things considered. Nice to see a win, but can only get so much.
Agreed. So we pop up the Statcast game feed here and take a look back at what happened. As we mentioned, Cleveland with the 6-3 victory, both teams with 10 hits apiece. Jose Barrios with the start for the Twins, went 5 2/3 inning, gave up 3 runs, all on one swing of the bat from Jose Ramirez. Obviously, Sergio Romo with a really, really tough outing there in the 8th, letting it slip away. Cleveland, Francisco Lindor with a couple hits, Ramirez with the big one. Clevenger had a rough start. Very good after that. We'll dig into the individual performances a little bit, but first let's just get started talking about takes of the game. Everyone who's here in the chat room, please feel free to share your thoughts, share your questions, anything that you're kind of feeling after this game. Twins losing 2 in a row. A tough one tonight. Jeremy, what's kind of your big take of the night? What's sticking with you as you come down from that loss?
I think Kepler's injury is the big thing for me. If it's not serious, no big deal. But if you take Kepler out of the lineup and out of the outfield, they're going to have to do something. Not count on Marwin Gonzalez to play outfield every day. Not count on Cave or Wade to be a regular. It would be freeing up a 40-man space to bring up Kirilloff or Rooker or Larnach. I think that's my big takeaway from the night. You lose a game like that, it's a bummer, but in the grand scheme of the season, not that big of a deal. But I think the Kepler foot is going to be the thing to watch.
Yeah, it sounds like so if anyone missed it earlier in the game, Kepler hit a leadoff home run, came out, could not have been hotter, made a huge catch in the bottom of the first, fouls a ball off of his foot, stays in the game initially, and then the team decides to pull him. Sounds like the initial diagnosis is a contusion on the foot, which is good news so far. But this team has seen some attrition already, and Kepler, obviously a crucial player, arguably their MVP last year, just been a huge asset at the top of the lineup and in right field this year. So I think that's definitely something that's sticking with me as well, especially considering the way he's played against Cleveland historically. Andrew, what's your take of the night coming off this 6-3 loss?
I think it's the second number that you just said there, the 3. This offense it's been abysmal outside of Miguel Sano, Nelson Cruz, and really Luis Arraez of late. It's been Luis Arraez again, but outside of that, you're getting absolutely nothing. Kepler's here or there, Rosario's here or there, but they have yet to just put it together all at the same time, or they show glimpses. They'll start an inning well, and then they'll hit into a double play or a strikeout or just have bad at-bats. And I think the part that worries me the most is one player is Jorge Polanco. I don't know if we want to go too much detail, but I just think my biggest takeaway has been the biggest takeaway for the last week. It's just, when is this offense going to put it together? We know they can. When is it going to happen?
Yeah, it's so frustrating because it was kind of the same story tonight as last night. They had a good start against Bieber. We're making them work early. We're making them sweat. It looks like they might have themselves a good night. And then they allowed him to really just settle in and cruise. And it was the same thing tonight with Clevenger. They had him on the ropes in the first inning. Eddie Rosario runs himself into an out at third base on a just confounding base running decision. I mean, I don't know what he was thinking. And then, that's the kind of thing that sucks the wind out of your sails. You got to take advantage of those opportunities. And, outside of Ere Adrianza coming off the bench and hitting a double and getting himself across the plate, yeah, the offense just did nothing. I don't know. It's incredibly frustrating. I mean, Cleveland is obviously one of the best pitching teams in the league, but at some point you got to step up and start swinging the bats. Jeremy, what's your impression of the offense here? I mean, this just continues to be a letdown night after night. I think you're muted, my friend.
I think they're going to have a big game tomorrow against the Tigers Friday. The bats are going to get going probably more as a tease than anything else because I don't think Detroit's great. So I've pushed. We see in the chat here adding Kirilloff. I've been pushing for that because he will bring instant offense. I don't know if that'll happen. I think the offense is going to be fine. There's so much offense that's not healthy right now. Buxton changes things. Donaldson changes things. Garver, when he's right, changes things. So Kepler, when he's healthy, if he can stay in the lineup. So I'm not overly concerned. It is what we got 29 games left, but the offense will come together. It's just a matter of can there be enough offensive guys staying healthy? That's more my worry. I hope this weekend changes kind of our take on the offense. Like you said, Cleveland's got great pitching, and you're not going to score a ton of runs, and that was to be expected. So hopefully these next 4 games are a shot in the arm.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've kind of been holding off on the, pushing for a prospect to come up. I mean, they have a lot of good depth. Let's use it. Let's not overreact to an injury, especially if it's going to be short term. But if Kepler's going to miss any time here, I think they need to call someone in. They need a spark. Make an evaluation of who's looking best in the training camp, whether that's Kirilloff or Larnach or Rooker, and get one of these guys up here. I mean, this offense needs to get a boost. They're just not doing it on their own. It just seems like, from one night to the next, Nelson Cruz all of a sudden goes from being the most dominant hitter ever to a non-factor. I think Andrew makes a good point. We haven't seen Polanco do much at all lately. Andrew, we got the trade deadline coming up. Do you think they need to do something to give this offense a kickstart, or do you think maybe, like Jeremy said, let's see what happens here in the Detroit series?
I don't think that's necessarily the needed route. Obviously, you should be looking at it. You should be exploring all options, and I'm sure they are because they're very well organized. But I think the biggest kick, boost that they could get is getting Donaldson back, getting Buxton back, getting Garver back, and maybe calling somebody up internally. I think all of our internal options, whether someone getting healthier or someone at the minors, are better than really anybody that we could trade for or would be willing to give up someone for. So I think if they're going to make a move, I'd rather see it like a bullpen arm or a surprise slash in the rotation, but I don't think they really need to address the lineup unless it's just a random depth piece at the trade deadline.
Yeah, I mean, they'll have to hope they can get back some of these hitters soon. We saw, one thing I want to talk about, Aaron Judge tonight pulled up running the bases for New York. It was his first game back after straining his calf 2 weeks ago. Came back in his first game back. He aggravated it, apparently. Now it looks like he's going to miss a bunch more time. So I think that, in a nutshell, is why the Twins are being so cautious with Josh Donaldson. I was looking back at Judge's situation, and when he first strained it, they treated it as very minor. I think Aaron Boone, the manager of the Yankees, said this is a grade 1 minor strain, if that. Judge said a week ago, I feel 100% I'm ready to play. And that this is how calves are. I mean, this is kind of what happened with Donaldson in 2018. He tried to come back. He was doing pregame warmups, aggravated, and he was out for almost the whole season. So, are you guys, when you look and see what happened with Judge, does that kind of reaffirm, the route that the Twins are taking with not just Donaldson, but I think a lot of these guys that they're really being conservative with? Andrew, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think it's just a smart play. It's just the Twins are in a good position record-wise. There's such little to play for. Like, winning the division honestly doesn't even have that much importance this year with 18 playoff. Nobody gets a bye. There's no wildcard round avoid. I don't know how much home field advantage is really going to matter at all in the postseason with most likely no fans and all that. So, I think the biggest thing is just being healthy and have your best team. It doesn't matter if you're the 1 seed or the 8 seed. Just have your best. As long as you make it, just have your best team available for that. That's really the end game for this season. So play it safe, just like they. Last night I thought they could have. Rich Hill definitely could have pitched another inning, but I was happy they pulled him after 80 or so pitches. Just with his injury history, his age, just him coming back, just keep him healthy. Like, I know our bullpen need him, and then maybe need another inning out of the starter, but it's not worth it at this point. Just we have a good buffer. I think we'll make the postseason. So that's probably the main goal.
It's a good point. I mean, it's hard for me not to get a little jazzed up from night to night, just because I want to win the games, and I do want the Twins to win the division. I think there is, I don't know, to your point, I don't know how much it matters in terms of how it sets them up for the postseason, but I don't know. I want a second straight Central title. I think the Twins are good enough to win it. And this is the first time that they've really started feeling the heat. I mean, Cleveland did make a statement in this series, and you got to give them that. Jeremy, what's your feeling about the management of the injuries here? And do you want to see them continue to just be as conservative as they can? And I mean, if it means keeping all these guys out or a lot of these guys out until the last week or two of the season, is that what they need to do?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Andrew said. The other thing too that is being discussed now is the potential bubble for to make sure the postseason happens. And there's the potential that the first round games, the best of 3 series, could be played at these bubble sites. So if you take away home field advantage in every single round, what's the point? It's basically exhibition baseball to determine who your best 8 teams are. Basically, the teams that aren't trash make the playoffs, and then you get a 3-game mini series to determine who goes on. The only priority at this point would be health. So that's why that could certainly be why Hill pitch less. That could certainly be why Maeda gets an extra day off. It could certainly be why you see rotations being manipulated here. Guys sent down and for no really good reason, just to keep guys healthy and fresh. And then it's just determining what that ramp up period is for the playoffs. Whether that's a 10 games or every other day for 2 weeks. There's so much flexibility here, and there, like Andrew said, is zero advantage to being a game, 2 games, 6 games better than another team in the American League, because you're all going to get a shot. And the Twins have basically wrapped up a playoff spot already. So now it's just get healthy.
Yeah, I wouldn't say, home field advantage, even if they're playing in a bubble, has, zero benefit. I mean, obviously hitting in the bottom half is some type of benefit, right? But not an enormous transformative sort of benefit. The Twins, even in an empty stadium, have played a lot better at Target Field this year. I mean, that much is clear, and we saw it again in this series. They just did not play Cleveland as well as they did at Target Field a few weeks ago. So I see there's a comment about Romo from General Soreness. I do want to touch on the bullpen, but first I want to talk a little bit about Barrios. It was an interesting night for him. Obviously, a letdown after his excellent performance in the last start. As you can see here, I mean, it was just kind of an odd night because it was almost like he was lucky but unlucky at the same time, from my view. All the damage came on that 3-run homer from Ramirez, which could not have been less out of the park. I mean, it was barely fair and it was barely over the wall. It was not hit that hard. But at the same time, you look at the chart here. Look at all these hard hit balls against him. 4 walks. He was erratic, gave up 7 hits. He didn't look good. He was not up to the task tonight and not nearly as good as they needed him to be. Jeremy, what's your read on Barrios? Do you feel like maybe he pitched better than the numbers tonight, or they're about where they should be, or maybe, to me, it could have even been a lot worse?
Yeah, he was just really inconsistent, and that's the thing that you can't have from the guy that is your best starter or should be your best starter. But we've seen that from him year in and year out. It seems like his pitches move more than he wants them to. He throws a little bit harder. Pitches move in and out more than I think he can control. And when things start to not go well, it's like he's a completely different dude. He slows down. And one bad thing tonight was more than he could overcome. But he has had these really good starts too. So with him, it's just he doesn't have to be as great as he was last week. he just has to be better than he's been, in this start and some of his earlier starts. Just provide some sort of consistency. Getting him over 100 pitches, I think, is good because he'll have to do that. But at the end of the day, he's going to have to play well in the playoffs for the Twins to have a shot. So keep running him out there every 5 days. Let him work through some of his problems. Could tonight have been better? Yep. Could it have been worse? Very easily. So all in all, I think it was an okay start because, like you said, it could have been terrible. But he was able to navigate most of the damage aside from that one swing.
Right. And I mean, he was technically at the end of the day only 1 out away from a quality start per se. So for whatever that's worth, right? I'm not a pitching expert in the vein of a Matthew Trueblood or a Parker Hageman, but what I'm seeing is it really seems like that two-seam fastball is just tailing away out of the zone constantly. And his success is built on spotting the fastball and then getting people to swing at breaking balls out of the zone. So, I mean, it almost seems a lot of the time like it's just as simple as that. And I don't know if that's a result of overthrowing or if he changed his position on the rubber or what it is, but it's just kind of the same thing over and over again, inning after inning. Andrew, what's your read on Barrios? Are you concerned, or do you feel like he was still, somewhat moving in the right direction tonight?
I mean, obviously, anytime your best pitcher isn't up to his stuff and hasn't been, it's a little bit concerning. But the one thing I'm taking out of it is his stuff is still great. His velocity is there. All that, the stuff that would be more worrisome for me, isn't much of an issue because that could be leading towards, he's not pitching as well, or does he have an injury that could be catastrophic? Where I think this is more mechanical stuff that he needs to work through, and maybe a tweak here or there they could work through him. And they have time, and he probably has 5 or 6 starts left this season where they can say, hey, we're working on mechanical stuff and try to fix this, and all it might take is just one tweak here or there, and he could be back to form. So this could be a very easy fix. Not saying that it is an easy fix, but I'm just saying, like, I'd rather have this than it be, his velocity's down 3 miles an hour, all this other things, and maybe lingering something, and we might not have him at all. So definitely mildly concerned, but I also trust that Wes Johnson and, the Twins are, Derek Falvey and all them are known with pitching gurus themselves. I trust that they'd have a chance to figure it out. He's in good hands, so hopefully he is able to.
Yeah, I mean, I tweeted about this tonight. It's like so easy to overreact to the sample we've seen because it's the only sample. But, Barrios has been a streaky pitcher, and he has his cold streaks. He has his very hot streaks. So one thing I pointed out on Twitter tonight, if you take a look at the same time period from last season as we've played this season, which is, July 24th to now August 26th, he made 6 starts last year, and he had a 5.60 ERA in that span. He gave up 7 homers in 6 starts. He was terrible, and people were freaking out, right? But he had been an all-star, and then he rebounded at the end of the year and started game 1 of the playoffs and looked okay against the Yankees. I don't think they want him to be their game 1 playoff starter. Hopefully that'll be Kenta Maeda at this point, I think, or maybe they'll go out at the deadline and get a Bauer, but I doubt it. But, yeah, I think it is, I'm not too worried about Barrios. If his velo was really dropping off or he was giving up tons of home runs or something like that, I would be a little more worried. But I think he looked okay. It was not a very good performance, very erratic, and I'm sure he's not very pleased with himself. But so he was relieved by Tyler Clippard. Good to see him come back in after the arm thing. He looked good. He didn't look like he had any issues after taking a liner near the elbow a couple days ago. Tyler Duffy in the 7th. Oh my God. I mean, the guy's been so good all year long, but that had to be his best appearance all season. He threw all strikes. He went up against the 1, 2, 3 hitters in this lineup. He struck out Ramirez and Lindor on 6 pitches, just blew him away. My question, why did he not go out for the 8th? He threw 11 pitches and he could not have looked better. And maybe this comes back to what Jeremy was talking about. The games don't matter that much. Let's just go out of our way to sort of protect these guys. But that sure seems to me like a situation where you can start building them out. And I think they want to have Duffy able to pitch a couple innings in the playoffs if they need him. So why not start building them up for that? I don't know. Andrew, were you at all bothered by that? Obviously, in hindsight, when we know how bad Romo pitched, it's easy to say. But even at the moment, I was kind of wondering.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking the same thing. I mean, it's not like Duffy's, someone that can't go extended innings. He's a starter his whole career, and up until last year. So it's not like he can't. He pitched 8 innings. He hasn't pitched since Saturday, so he had 4 days of rest or 3 days of rest after a 1-inning performance there. Was it 9, 10, 11 pitches, however much it took to get him out. He looked good. I would have let him in, and it's nothing. It's like Romo or any of that. I mean, Romo's looked a little shaky, but I still trust Romo. I still trust Rodgers to get the job done. And anything, if you're looking to protect people, why not leave him out there? Romo doesn't have to get up. Use him. I'd be more concerned with trying to protect the guy in his upper 30s that's pitched the last few days than the guy that's still in his 20s that just threw 9 pitches and hasn't pitched since Saturday. Maybe Romo doesn't even have to warm up and pitch at all, and you have him completely fresh. And yeah, maybe Duffy's not available tomorrow, but you have Romo completely fresh. Or, I mean, it's hindsight, obviously, but I was thinking that. But you also, he has a formula. It's Duffy, it's Romo, it's Rodgers. You get 2. It's a big game. I see where he's going, and it's hard to chitch up. So it's not oh my gosh, Rocco should be fired over this. Not even close.
Oh no.
You could have questioned. But I mean, the way it looked on Twitter is, granted it's Twitter, but that's what it looked like, and I would have done something different, but I definitely see why Rocco made the decision he did. So it's not a massive deal one way or the other.
Jeremy, any issues with the bullpen management tonight, or are you good with it?
No, I'm fine with it. Sometimes I feel like Rocco's playing chess when we're playing checkers, and from sometimes just a perspective of, I think he's got his whole plan very mapped out. Like, if this happens, then I do this. If this happens, I do this, and because it's all in preparation of bigger things at the end of the year. Part of me wondered if, because Romo had been shaky and hadn't shut his mouth, that Rocco thought, you know what, I'm throwing him out there, and if he gives up some runs, maybe he'll learn. That sort of thing.
That's a good point.
Because he hasn't been. I mean, he's been okay lately, but he's also made, I think this was appearance number 11 or 12 this year. This was appearance number 12, and the 4th appearance against Cleveland. So he was bound to get roughed up at some point, and so get it out of the way. When he's good, he's very good. But when you can see that same limited repertoire over and over and over again, I feel like it's probably a little bit easier to catch up to. So part of it might have been like, you know what, you've talked the talk repeatedly. Now you need to walk the walk repeatedly, and he just wasn't able to. And they're going to be okay out of it. Duffy's been phenomenal, and I think having him go tonight, only 9 pitches, I think it was, he could go again tomorrow. And maybe that's what this is. It's a kind of a fireman deal where he has to handle the best of the other lineup. Then you're done, and you be ready for tomorrow if you're needed. And I'm okay with that. If we would have known that Romo, like you said, was going to get blown up, then go with Duffy one more inning. But there's no guarantee that he was going to do his normal thing either. So I'm okay with how it all played, what he did as it played out. Clippard making an appearance tonight, I think, is huge because he's a very, very good bullpen arm for them. So the deeper that bullpen is, the better off they're going to be, as these last 4 weeks of the season happen.
No question. Yeah, a general soreness in the chat. Any chance Romo idles down on the antics and firing up the opposition? You'd think someone with his pedigree would know better by now. It is an interesting dynamic because I love watching Romo when he's pitching good and pissing off the other team. It's fun and it's fiery and it's the kind of baseball that I like to watch. But there's no doubt that when he gets blown up, it's a bad look. I mean, for all the trash talking, he got clobbered tonight and lost the game. And you could hear the Cleveland dugout chirping at him, and I think that's totally fine. I have no issue with it, and I'm sure he didn't feel good about it, but at least he seemed to handle it okay because it seems like he understands it as well. Andrew, what was kind of your read on that situation? A little bit of comeuppance, I guess, for Sergio Romo.
Yeah, I mean, you also got to remember this is, a seasoned vet that's been here, done that, won how many World Series rings. He's been this guy his whole career. It's part of his, shtick to get him going. I mean, this is a guy that sits around all day waiting for 10 minutes to, and then doesn't do it in it for a couple of days. Like, it's his way of getting up and, firing. I mean, probably it's probably like the feisty mentality of a guy that's a lot smaller than everybody else that does the things he does. And he's had to be a bulldog his whole life to get every ounce of what he can out of himself to perform. And he's been doing this for years. If this was a 22-year-old coming up and there's older vets that could talk to him and do that. Like, it'd be different. But this is how upper 30s. I don't even know exactly how old he is. I know he's in his upper 30s. This isn't something that's like, is he going to get his comeuppance learned? I think Romo's going to be Romo. It's just more in a spotlight now because the other team can hear everything, and the microphones are picking up everything, chirping back, and it's becoming more of a national story than other times. It'd just be blown into the wayside because he's pitching late in the game and the crowd is going nuts. So, and you can't hear anything anyway. So I think that's pretty much all it is.
It's not like it's a new thing for Sergio Romo. It's not like he's just suddenly doing this, right? I mean, this is the kind of player he is, the kind of player he's always been. And he's a 3-time World Series champion with a lot of success. It's just new that the other team can hear everything. And it's just one of those things where it's a weird season. It's a very different environment, and everyone has to deal with it. And I don't know. I wonder if it'll change. I kind of doubt it. He might pipe it down a little bit. I don't know. That had to be a little humbling tonight. But and it's a little different when you're firing up a young, inexperienced team like Kansas City compared to a team like Cleveland that's been through it. I don't know if there's a different dynamic where firing these guys up is a little more hazardous, but it sure seemed like it tonight. But tough game for the Twins. Still played competitively. I thought it was a really good game. It was unfortunate that it kind of spiraled. It was nice to see Adrianza have that big moment. He came in with the first pitch swinging, rips a double. That was pretty energizing, and then he made an awesome catch in the outfield. And it almost seemed like he was kind of, with Vargas playing pretty well, is Adrianza going to stick around? Do you think that was kind of a big moment tonight for Adrianza to come out and have a little bit of a good game off the bench here, Andrew?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it could have just been one at bat. Isn't that the third straight night Perez pitched? He had the. I mean, yeah. I mean, good for him. I'm happy he hit the double. Don't get me wrong, but it was one hit. I'm not taking a lot out of that. It was one double. It was great at the time, but how much that means going forward, who knows?
One double has been tough for him to come across this year, but yeah, not true. I mean, it is one. We'll see if he gets some more chances. We'll see if it affects the Twins. I mean, just with so many guys going down, I don't know if they want to be leaning on guys like Adrianza as regulars if they can avoid it. So if anyone has any additional thoughts or questions, feel free to share them in the chat or the Q&A section. Twins are going to be heading to Detroit now for a 4-game series against the Tigers, worst team in the division. Ron Garden hires Tigers. It's kind of amazing that the Twins now through 31, 32 games have still not played Detroit. So they're going to get more than a third of their remaining games against the Tigers. Hopefully that'll be a good thing. As Jeremy was mentioning earlier, this is an opportunity to maybe get the bats going with a much easier assignment. I was going to say I don't know that, it's going to be a cakewalk because the Tigers are throwing a couple of their really good prospects. I think Tariq Skubal is, I think, one of their names, and then Kerry Mize, who was the number 1 overall pick a few years ago. Very good young pitchers. Matthew Boyd I saw is going tomorrow, who was good. I did not realize. I was looking at his numbers. He's 0-4 with an 8.48 ERA. So Dobnak on the hill for the Twins, that should be a very advantageous matchup, you would hope. Jeremy, what's your expectation for tomorrow in Detroit as Gardy and the Tigers kick things off against the Twins?
Well, I expect the Twins to win the next 4. I mean that's my take on things. That they're gonna go to take care of business because that's what they've done almost every single night. I'm not sure exactly what the record is now. Is it 20-11 or 20-12?
20-12, yeah.
Like the third best record in baseball with a shell of their normal team. Dobnak's very good, and the Tigers aren't. So I expect 4 out of 4. I could live with 3 out of 4, and then they're just gonna beat the Tigers up for the rest of the year anyway. So if they happen to win less, I'm not gonna panic because it's their Fangraphs has them at like 99.6% chance of making the playoffs.
Yeah, they're not missing the playoffs.
I feel pretty good about how this weekend's gonna go and the next 4 weeks.
Good. I like the optimism, and it would sure be nice to see them fired up and go and let loose and unleash a little bit on the Tigers. Andrew, what's your feeling going into this 4-game series in Detroit?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same as Jeremy. It'd be nice to go in and pound it up and the offense get a chance to get going. But at the end of the day, like you said, we have a 0.4% chance of not making the playoffs. And like we talked about earlier, that's all that really matters at this point. So let's just keep grinding away, keep playing away. Maybe we can try and fix a few things here. Maybe somebody, if we can have, honestly, I'd rather go 2-2 and have a couple bats get hot and stay hot after this than go 4-0 and kind of be in the same situation we are now with trying to figure out, and we barely won. So that's my biggest takeaway is going to be from the series is not the scoreboard at the end. Obviously, it'd be nice to go 4-0, but and obviously guys playing well will make a better chance of going 4-0, but that's going to be my look for is if a couple guys can get things going, especially offensively, we get Kepler back, and then they could carry it on through because we have a bunch of games left against the White Sox and the Indians. So if we can get somebody to get hot and get going, that'll be huge. So that's kind of what I'm looking for in this series.
I hear that. I think Kepler coming back in this series and looking okay would be a huge development. I'm looking for positive developments more than the results, but yeah, you would hope that the Twins will win at least 3 or 4 of these games. Detroit is not good there without CJ Cron, who's out for the year, but Jonathan Scope's still around and playing pretty well. So Steve Pincus asks in the chat, I think this would be a good thing to close on, I guess. Did you hear whether the Twins and/or Cleveland considered postponing the game, as happened with other teams, or whether any players considered sitting out? I have not heard anything like that. It seems like a lot of this stuff developed kind of late, kind of organically. I wouldn't have been surprised. I mean, the Twins have been, outspoken and active and vocal, and Rocco Baldelli, I know, is an advocate, and it's going to be really interesting to see what happens tomorrow with the Twins and a lot of other teams. I don't know what to expect. This is an unprecedented situation. There's talk that the NBA playoffs might just shut down. I don't know what's going to happen. Jeremy, do you have any thoughts on this sort of situation? It's obviously we're just kind of trying to figure it out as we go.
Yeah. So while we've been on, there was apparently a big players meeting in the NBA, and the Lakers and the Clippers voted to boycott the rest of the season.
Wow.
So I'm not sure if that means that because they voted to boycott that they're done and the season's over, or if they voted to boycott and they're done and the teams that are left are just going to keep playing. But obviously, I think when that ball starts to roll, and it becomes a snowball, was there 3 baseball games postponed tonight, including the Dodgers Giants?
I believe so, yeah.
Dodgers, Giants, Brewers, Reds, and then Padres, Mariners. And so they say, yeah, we're going to make these games up. But what's going to happen here in the next handful of hours is that as games start to finish, they're going to start to talk. And even though teams aren't playing, teams on the East Coast from the West Coast, the most prominent players in baseball are going to start having a conversation. Now, the demographic of the prominent people in baseball it's different than the most prominent people in the NBA, which maybe is why the NBA has been so quick. But when athletes have a platform, they're not going to stick to sports, and I think that's perfectly fine. And the next handful of days are going to be very, very, very interesting in the world of sports.
Yeah, it's a good point about the snowball effect in the NBA because, to tie this to another very relevant, overwhelming situation in our lives, it was the NBA that shut things down in the coronavirus back on March 11th that sort of set off the dominoes of everything else. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of fallout there is from them leading the way on this issue as well. Andrew, do you have any feelings or thoughts to share on this whole unfortunate scenario?
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously everything's unfortunate and it's really tough to unpack. Honestly, I have no idea. I can't really make a prediction any more than anybody else could about what's going to happen because, like you said, this is completely unprecedented. You got to look at the three games that were canceled. We had, the Milwaukee game that was happening literally in Wisconsin, which makes sense, and the other 2 were West Coast, so they are games that had 3 more hours to react to something to make a decision. Where this, would have been in the leading hours up to the Twins game that started at 6 o'clock Central. So. I doubt anything was considered for tonight, but who knows what could happen tomorrow. I think it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, as a baseball fan, I would like for them to keep playing, but I understand the viewpoint. I would rather, just personally speaking, I would rather see this as a form of protest than people destroying cities. Now, granted, that's extra political, but I mean, I'd rather see this as a platform because at least nobody's getting harmed, nobody's lives are being ruined extra, and it's still making a statement. I think it's making a statement that more people understand too. Not everyone will, but at the end of the day, I can't make a prediction. I don't know. Like I said, I hope baseball continues as a baseball fan, but that is not up to me, and I don't know what's going to happen. So.
I don't think anyone really likes to see the destruction. I mean, even those who understand why it's happening. You know, what I've seen going on in downtown Minneapolis tonight is tragic. Really makes me sad. So I hope that if we have any listeners or fans who are down there, I hope y'all are doing okay, staying safe. So the Twins, if there is a game tomorrow in Detroit, it's going to be Dobnak versus Boyd. I believe it's a 6:10 start. The post-game pint will be rolling. I'm not sure who's going to be leading that. I'm heading out of town, going to the cabin. Feels like a good time to do that. So I got a long weekend coming up. Thank you to everyone who joined the chat tonight. Appreciate you guys sharing some thoughts, distracting us a little bit from the world. Thanks a lot to Andrew and Jeremy. Great insights on the game. Always feel a little better after a loss, being able to chat it out with some of these great Twins Daily folks and the great community who joins here. So, Jeremy, any final thoughts here on tonight's game or the weekend or anything else before we log off?
No, I think it's Max Kepler's day to day with a foot, and we're all day to day in 2020 all the time. So let's all make it through. Let's make it through the night and make it through tomorrow.
Another day tomorrow. Andrew, any thoughts here before we get going for the evening?
No, just repeat what Jeremy said. Just making it through the day.
All right. Thanks again, everyone. Twins lose 6-3. Drop the series in Cleveland, heading to Detroit for 4 games. Hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow night. Head over to postgamepint.com. You can find a podcast link to get the audio version of last night's show. You can also find a YouTube video and a link to the upcoming one. I'm guessing it's going to be either Mr. Bonus or Mr. Stowe's taking over tomorrow night. So everyone, take care of yourselves, stay safe, and go Twins. We'll see you soon.